And what I put into it is that they would ask me questions, but then I would say, you didn't ask me anything about what I want to do in my life. You didn't ask me what road I want to travel, but you're telling me what I need to do, and you need to do 1, 2, 3, but you're not asking me how I can incorporate my life into that. So I started being more proactive instead of just sitting back and letting them tell me. I would say, listen, there are positive things that I want to do in my life, and I'm hoping that you could help me. And I would begin to tell them different issues. And there are people who work within the system that do care. I don't know if somebody touches them, or maybe they had things that might have occurred in their life, or a family member or something, but you got to stop being so judgmental. I'm not that person that hurt you. I'm not that person that did something to your family. I'm not. But sometimes you make me feel that you're taking everything out on us. And that's just unfair. And it's hard to live up to that. It's very difficult to live up to that. So, like just being so judgmental over one person for what they might have done, that's just a little bit unfair, because again, we all deserve second chances. So what I would do is just constantly strive to show you how serious I am. Like even just to show up every appointment on time and sit there and wait however long I gotta wait for you, and I never complain, but I never get any credit for that though. And I don't get credit for what I have accomplished. And that's important. Everyone wants to hear that they're doing good. You're doing good. I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work. But before you know it, you'll be off of this. You won't have to be bothered. You might even get off early. Who knows? But just keep up the good work. Constantly encourage them. It's important.
When it comes to promoting success versus managing failure, I think what happens is we always have to remember that affirmation is more important than information, right? How you make someone feel is 100% more important than any information or anything you can give them or any punishment. The second thing I want to say is there really is, contrary to popular belief, there really is no way for someone else to hold another person accountable. Like that's impossible. That's why the death penalty doesn't work. That's why in countries where they cut your arm off if you steal, people are still stealing, because you cannot hold anyone accountable. The very best thing we can hope for is that we create an environment where people hold themselves accountable, right? And that's the way it happens. So the story I want to share is about, in my role as support staff at a high school, we had these 8 students. 5 of them were young men, 3 were young ladies. And every day at 5th period, they would leave school, and then they would come back at the beginning of 6th period. And so this had been going on for a few months, and the principal had been fed up. They had talked to him a number of times. They had been fed up, and they wanted to kick him out. They wanted to expel him, not just suspend him. They wanted to expel him, so they couldn't come back to the school at all. And so I got heard about it from the young people. And so I went to advocate for them, and I went to talk to the principal and some other administration. And I was like, okay, so what is the problem? And so I said, no, tell me the things that are the most problem, the most things that you think is the problem in this scenario. And they said, well, we have kids, these kids are leaving school. These kids are smoking marijuana across the street. And then they're coming back to the school. And so I said, okay, those are the 3 things that you feel are ultimately something that we cannot accept, that's unacceptable, and those are violations of the rules and regulations, right? They said, yeah. I said, okay. And he said, well, let me talk to him. And they said, well, we've already talked to him. There's nothing you can say that we haven't said. And I said, okay, let me just try. And they said, okay, well, what are you going to say? I said, I'm going to call them in. And instead of talking to them about those 3 things that they did wrong, I'm going to talk to them about the 10 things that they did right. And I'm going to talk to them about how it's important that you stay in school the whole time. But I recognize that you left and you came back, which means you really want to be in school. So I want to praise you for that, because there are a lot of people who don't want to be here and who don't show up at all, right? So I want to praise you for that. The second thing I want to do is just talk about how important it is for you to understand in your own self all the things that you have done right. Because I know in school, at home, a lot of places, all they want to do is point out all the things you're doing wrong. So I want to talk to you about the things you're doing right first. And then we're going to have a conversation about those things that we want to change, because I just want you to know that I recognize you're just trying to get your needs met. And I just want you to recognize, and I think you will, that this is a bad strategy, right? So we want to change your strategy. We want to get you to be able to do a different strategy, right? And so that's how you do it. That's how I would want to talk through the things that people do and how they do it. So instead of just bombarding them with, whatever it is they did wrong, how about we talk about the things they did right to affirm them first, and then come around and talk about the things that we want to manage, about what's not happening the way we want it to, and how can we do some correction, right? How can we do that? And then ultimately what that does is that, again, what I talked about, that allows for the students, that allows for the young people, or in this scenario, the person who's on parole, probation, or pretrial, that allows them, that creates an environment where they want to hold themselves accountable. And when you have that, that's when you'll have real progress, because then the person is holding themselves accountable for their actions about what they did or even what they didn't do.